Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so delighted to introduce my guest today and friend, Darcy Roberts. With 5 years of coaching under her belt, Darcy wants people to love their work. Her coaching superpowers include her intuition, a practical approach to real-world challenges, and a sense of humor. With more than 20 years of administrative experience across a variety of industries, including the arts, law, finance, banking, and executive search, she has worked with a variety of people at all levels of the corporate world. Darcy thrives at helping people figure out what is next for them in all aspects of career transition and coaches leaders and managers to increase their leadership skills, effectiveness, and impact with their teams and in their organizations. She is a certified facilitator of Lego Serious Play Method and is certified to use both the Facet 5 personality assessment tool and the Berkman method. Please join me in welcoming Darcy Roberts. Hey, Darcy.
Hello.
Welcome to Work from the Inside Out. So, as you know, Work from the Inside Out is all about all the twists, the turns, the transitions, and things that we've done in our careers. And as we just introduced you, it's clear that you've had a lot of different experiences over your life. And most of us have landed where we are. You and I both share this love of wanting to help people love their work, but neither one of us started there. So take us back to some of the earlier years and how those might have been formative in helping you get to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is I basically took up interviewing as almost as a sport. I applied for jobs left, right, and center because I always thought that it was not the work that I was doing that was the problem. It was the workplace, so I might be in one industry in one company and thinking, well, maybe I'll try something else because I'm not happy where I am. So there's got to be something else somewhere out there. And so I applied for jobs constantly. I interviewed constantly. I had a really well-developed interviewing muscle. And I just kept thinking that it was the company that I was working for and not actually the work that I was doing that was at the root of the problem here, where I wasn't enjoying my work. I mean, I worked with some amazing people, worked for some great companies. Into everybody's life, some crappy managers will fall, but sure. I really did work with some great people, and yet it was never really the thing. I was never really happy.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I can relate to a lot of that. And I find that a lot of people are less interested sometimes, to some degree, in the actual day-to-day doing of the work. But if they are in an environment where they're happy to be in that environment, I guess we call that more the human being versus the human doing, right? Then they're usually much happier. And I think that's a little bit of what you're pointing to right here.
Yeah, I overlooked. I don't know how long it took me to figure out I didn't actually enjoy doing admin work. There's that ikigai, and I don't think I'm pronouncing it properly, but that ikigai diagram where there's 4 overlapping pieces, and one of them is work that you can do well. It's kind of like having a natural. Well, it's having a natural gift for doing the work that you're doing. So yeah. I could do the admin work. I just didn't. I didn't actually like it.
Yeah.
And so I fell into it when I graduated. You graduate with an English degree, and what do you do, right?
Right.
So I was not trained for anything specifically. I I ended up with work because my roommate's boyfriend's company was hiring, and
Yeah.
so it started me down that path. It was never very intentional. And it really took me to turning 50 and all of that to really realizing that I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing for another 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you talk about, though, even that first job, right? Your roommate's boyfriend worked at a company and he introduced you to somebody, you got your foot in the door. And even though you ended up doing this work that you didn't love that much, I just want to point out you were networking. You got your foot
I
you
know.
got your foot in the door through
Yeah.
someone you knew. And I think oftentimes when people look back on their careers, they look at networking and they cringe or they get uncomfortable even when the word networking comes up, and yet they forget about all the jobs they got in the past through that kind of a happenstance, let's say, where somebody knew about something or they worked at a certain company and they introduced them, and they forget and they don't realize that that technically is networking. And so I just wanted to point that out to our listeners that there's lots of ways that people land in jobs, and you know or think it just fell in my lap, and I want to say, well, it fell in your lap, but you still had to be open to stepping into it, even if it's, well, I had to make a living, of course, but you still had to be open to it.
Oh,
um,
yeah. Yeah. No, people absolutely can't stand networking, and I didn't realize until I'd say probably 3 years ago that that's how I got my first real job was
yeah,
through networking. I was like, "Oh, I guess that's how I got my first job," because all through my 20s, I think that's nonsense that, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I totally resisted that. I
sure.
completely resisted that. And I had I had it shoved up my nose. It was probably my third job after university, and the company was going to be laying off either myself or a colleague, and I worked way harder. Honestly, I did. I worked way harder than this other person, and yet I was completely flabbergasted when one January morning they said, "Oh, we're laying you off. We'll bring you back in the summer, but we're laying you off now." And I couldn't believe it. But in the meantime, while all of this was going on, my colleague was having drinks with the guy who was making decisions about who was going to be laid off and who wasn't.
Ah,
So I learned the hard way. I had that lesson. It really is, once you get your foot in the door, you do have to show up and do the work.
right.
So it's not just who you know. However, it really does help get your foot in the door when somebody
Sure.
opens the door that much
Right.
for you.
Right. And I think, though, when we hear the phrase, it's who you know, it sounds so insincere and manipulative. And I think that's what makes people uncomfortable when we talk about networking in that way, rather than saying, look, it is about relationships and it can be
Yes.
genuine
Yes.
relationships where you really connect with people, and it's an exchange in a relationship. It's reciprocal, where you get to know people, you get to know something about them and actually even care about them, and they actually care about you. It doesn't have to be this kind of manipulative, I need to get something out of you and you can get something out of me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think, though, when it's first presented to us, it sometimes is presented in a way that it's sort of just an ends to, a means to an end, rather than an actual experience that could actually be fruitful, something you learn something from, and could be, enjoyable, you know?
I agree 100%. Yeah, I think, it's It's complicated, right? And it's like any relationship, right? But my relationships with my colleagues now and the colleagues I've had, I mean, they're relationships.
Right.
So it is a, I give some, they give some, and sometimes, I hope to be in a position where I'm able to help people down the line.
Sure.
I hope I'm helping people now, but I also,
Yeah.
I never know when somebody's going to be able to help me open a door for me, and when I'm going to be able to do the same for them. So it
Right.
really is,
Right.
it is definitely a give and take.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and and all these years that you have done the admin work,
Yeah.
you got a bird's eye view into organizations and different industries and all kinds of people, that has informed the work that you now get to do as a coach. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious, though, there were many years before you became a coach, right? So you said something about turning 50 and going the coaching route. But let's talk a little bit more about those years prior to 50. So you graduated with a degree in English or English Lit, I
Yeah.
think you said.
Yeah.
And you were in your 20s, like a lot of us. We're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll just take this job. And so then you kind of moved from job to job. And let's also let our listeners know that you are in the Toronto area. Um,
Mhm.
so, um, so just walk us through those years a little bit. Were there any twists and turns? Did you ever at some point stop and say, I'm not liking this. Maybe I should do something different? Or
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
what
So
was that journey like for you? Because
yeah.
we're talking about, you know, um, at least a couple of decades there, right?
Yes, yes, we are. Yeah, we're talking decades. Yeah, there were all kinds of twists and turns. I just assumed with an arts background that I was going to work in the arts, and I, I got to a certain stage. I was working for the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television, and I just thought, wow, I want people to be more professional. I love the arts. I care about the arts. I'll always care about the arts. And yet it seemed like the arts were more important than any money, and it didn't matter. People wanted grants for doing stuff. And I thought, I actually want people to, if you don't have a viable product, why should the government give you a grant for anything? I kind of woke up one day and thought, maybe maybe it's time to explore something different here in terms of the industry that I'm working at.
Mm,
I stopped working for the arts organization in 94, and I
mhm.
decided, I had a friend, a couple of quite a few friends actually living in Vancouver, and turned out there was a psychotherapy program that I was interested in. So I pulled up stakes. I moved out to Vancouver for 3.5 months and did this program, which I really enjoyed. And I got back and I thought, I'm not ready. I can't start a business doing this, you know, psychotherapy stuff. I don't feel like I'm equipped yet. So I'll just start temping. Well, that's how I ended up working in the law firm, because
Oh,
the temping work paid really well. And so I ended up, working with some really, I learned about law and how it actually works. In my undergrad, I had worked for the Toronto Police Department for 2 summers. Like I've
wow.
had all kinds of, yeah. I worked in bail and parole. It was quite an eye opening experience.
Wow.
Yeah, for a girl from the suburbs, there were, yeah, some interesting characters. So, so then it was law, and then I ended up following one of the lawyers I worked with to a financial services company.
Hmm.
So, look, I've worked for some amazing people. I've worked for some very senior people. I've had a bird's eye view into how organizations work.
Mhm.
I've been an employee I've been on the receiving end. I've overheard some of those conversations when the going gets tough at the senior levels. And yeah, I know I've just had so much experience just across industries and across, various people, that it really has um, fed what I'm able to share with my clients
Yeah.
now that I'm coaching.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll back the tape just a little bit and sort of, so you had this curiosity about the psychotherapy program. You actually moved yourself to Vancouver, which is quite a move.
Yeah.
You studied psychotherapy for what sounds like a fairly short period of time, given.
Yeah, it was very intense.
Yeah.
Like
And
5
so did that give you a credential to be able to practice psychotherapy?
Well, the weird thing is here is that at the time you didn't need a credential. Anybody could hang up their shingle and say they were a psychotherapist.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which is really scary. So I didn't feel like I was ready, but it was fascinating, and I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's just added another layer of learning and training and background to what I bring to the table.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And then you were exposed to the law firm and the legal community. It sounds like you kind of immersed yourself in that world for a while, and then a few years later, financial services world.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like wherever you were at each period of time, each industry, you kind of immersed yourself there and learned what you could learn. It almost sounds like you were kind of a Renaissance person. You kind of, but it doesn't. It's not like you just flitted from one thing to the next. It sounds like you stayed in each place for a few years, really got to know it, and then when you were ready, you moved on to something else and got to know that.
Yeah, what's really funny, it's funny because I like the term Renaissance woman, because the alternative is, the jack of all trades, master of none, right? And being a dabbler, I am a bit of a dabbler, and I'm actually okay with that. And what's interesting about that is when it came time, as I was being interviewed for my final corporate role in executive search, I mean, the man I was going to be working with, he liked my background because I had pockets here, pockets there, pockets, across the board. I was familiar with really quite a number of industries.
Yeah.
And so that to him was a benefit. Now, for some other people, they would see that differently.
Right.
For my work now, it's also been a benefit.
Absolutely.
Right. So, if people are talking to me about financial services stuff, I know what they're talking about.
Right.
The banking, I know what they're talking about. So it comes in, being a dabbler. I mean, really, all roads lead to Rome. Right. So as much as I thought there was no direction.
Yeah.
In what I was doing.
Yeah.
For all those years.
Yeah.
It really, I think there was a reason for all of that.
Sure. It sounds like there was. I'm wondering at the time, though, as every
didn't feel that way.
Years, if it didn't feel that way, did it bother you at the time that you were kind of switching industries every so many years? Or did you just kind of find yourself just moving through life?
Yeah, no, I wasn't happy. Right.
Okay.
So, I'd be happy for a little while if I liked the people that I was working with. If I didn't like the people I was working with, that just sped up my move.
Yeah.
I was obviously looking for something, but I wasn't aware of what I was looking for.
Right. And then, so tell us. So the last corporate role you had was an executive search,
Yeah.
and so paint the picture for us a little bit now. So we are at the 50-year mark, so to speak, right? You turned 50, or you were about to turn 50, and something changed for you.
Yeah. So I had always wanted to go to Morocco ever since I saw there was a 17 magazine issue in my teens, and Phoebe Cates was on the cover, and she was in Marrakesh. They did a photo shoot in Marrakesh, and I can still see those pictures. I just was fascinated by Morocco, and so for that was my birthday gift to myself. We took a guided trip to Morocco, and it was a very small group of people. I think there were probably 18 of us
Uh-huh.
plus the guide, and it was almost exclusively British people,
Mhm.
and everybody. They all were talking about how much they they were looking forward to going back to work. And I was, what? I I did not want to go back to work. Like, what would that be? What would it be like to actually enjoy the work that you do, and to be looking forward, even while you're in this amazing place, to be looking forward to going back to work? And so there I was. There are pictures. I have pictures of me crying, sitting in the Sahara Desert with tears rolling down my eyes. I thought, I can't continue on with what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
It's not going to be enough to sustain me for the next 15, 20 years of my working life.
Mm.
So I got home. I was absolutely miserable. And it became very clear very quickly that I wasn't going to be able to stay where I was. So the executive search firm and I parted ways, and I literally stumbled into coaching about 2 weeks after I finished working.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you finished working, not really knowing what was next, but
No.
knowing
Yeah.
that the next
Yeah.
thing had to be something that was
Something
going to
else.
be.
Yeah.
Had you ever done that before? Had you ever left a job
Yeah,
without?
I did that with the psychotherapy training, same thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I still remember my parents took me out for dinner, and my mother said something along the lines of, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" And
That's a
and
very nice thing. I think
well,
there are other parents who would have said, even to their 50-year-old child, they would have said, "Are you nuts?"
yeah. So I looked at my mother and I said, this was 1994. I said, "Mom, have I ever done anything stupid in my entire life?" And she looked at my father and he looked at her and she said, "Well, no." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything stupid now." So, yeah, so here's the gift of intuition, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't, people say, "Well, that was very brave of you." So, well, it wasn't really a choice. I didn't feel like it was a choice. It was the thing that was happening and needed to happen, and that I was sure that something would come to me. And in both cases, the thing came to me within, 10 days or 2 weeks.
How did that? I'm curious. How did that? How did you stumble? How does one stumble into coaching?
Well, for some reason, I was thinking about a woman that I had worked with, who had been in HR, and it was like 10 years previously. And I thought, oh, she's doing some coaching thing. I'm kind of curious about it. So I called her up and I went over to her house, and we had a chat about coaching, and I decided to sign up. I never had coaching when I signed up for the coaching program. Same thing with the Lego Serious Play. I had never actually done Lego Serious Play when I signed up for the very expensive coaching or very expensive training. So I mean, I guess other people think I'm a bit crazy, but yeah, I know when it's the right thing. I don't
Yeah,
know
you're
how else to.
following your gut, your
Yeah.
intuition.
Yeah.
I mean, it. we all say it. We all say, oh, you should follow your gut. And then a lot of people talk themselves out of that a lot. And what you're telling us is, I actually do follow my gut. And and on the surface, it looks like you're just making a decision without any forethought. But there is a process that's going on inside of you when you make those decisions. It's just not obvious to anyone, including ourselves, I think. But there is that notion of it just feels right. It might feel scary. It might feel all kinds of things at the same time, but there is that element of just feeling right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I really encourage people to well, what do I encourage people? I would like more people to follow their gut. I think following our hearts, our guts, whatever you want to call it, I think it makes people uncomfortable because it's impossible to say, well, this is why. Here are my 5 reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a logical person. I'm a reasonable person, right? And I also hugely trust what I just instinctively know.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage people, if you have a feeling about something, and it's not that you have a feeling for 10 minutes and it fades. I mean, I could not have carried on the way I was. I would have gotten very ill, I think, if I had carried on the way I was doing work that was, I was very well paid doing what I was doing. And it just was not satisfying to me, to to my soul, to whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It just was not, I just couldn't, it was killing me.
Some people are just more risk averse than others too. Like I'm making an assumption, though I'm not a big fan of assumptions, that you must have had a little bit of living expenses set aside so that you weren't just quitting your job without knowing how you were going to pay the rent or how you were going to take care of yourself, that you quit your job knowing that you were not going to let yourself go homeless.
Yes, 100%. I'm not saying I had a whole bunch of money saved up. I mean, I just figured I had resources available to me. And worst case scenario has always been, well, I just get another job.
Right.
I mean, I might not want to do it, but I would just get another job.
Right.
So there was no, because I'm fair. I don't know, on the scale of risk averseness, I'm not sure where I would land. But I always have a plan B. So for that, the plan B was, if the coaching thing didn't work out, I'd just go back and get another job. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the plan B.
Yeah. So you heard about coaching from this former colleague of yours who was also working in HR, it sounds like?
Well, she'd been in HR and she did coaching and then she became a coach. So she was working as a coach.
I see.
Yeah.
And so did you just go and do the coaching program she did, or did you shop around, or?
Well, I'm a little bit lazy on the research front. So she had said to me, well, I did my research. I looked at these schools and I took a cursory glance at the schools she had mentioned. And then I did the training that she had done and off to the races. Yeah.
And just so our listeners know, you did the Coaches Training Institute.
Yes.
Training,
yes.
which is also the training I've done.
Yep.
And I think they're going by a different name these days.
Yeah, Coactive
Training Institute.
Something. It's Coactive something.
Coactive coaching is the model.
Yes.
And so clearly that worked out for you.
Yes. Well, 5 years. Yeah, the 5 years this month.
Wow.
Yeah, I finished. I wrapped up my training.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so you've added to that, as we said in the intro, you've added some tools or toys to, to your toolkit. You also are a certified facilitator of Lego Serious Play,
Mhm.
and Facet 5 Personality Assessment and the Berkman Method.
Yeah.
And I know you've also developed something called Resume in a Box.
Oh, yes. Yes. Resume in a Box. Yes. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So without planning on it, because I don't seem to plan very much, I seem to have done a lot of work with people around the resumes over the last 3 years. And because I applied for so many jobs myself and I spent 7.5 years in executive search, I have seen literally thousands of resumes.
Right.
And so how can I help my clients stand out from the crowd? Because there's that apocryphal saying that people, if you actually get a human being looking at your resume, if you manage to make it through the AI screening,
Right.
People decide within 6 or 7 seconds whether they're going
Right.
to actually review your resume.
That's right.
So you have got to really grab the reader's attention at the first half of the first page of your resume is the precious real estate for your
That's
resume.
right.
If you haven't grabbed them there, it's not going to happen. So I decided that I would create a workbook for people so that they could do it themselves and stand out from the crowd. I mean, all you want your resume to do is open the door to a conversation.
That's right.
Right?
It doesn't have to be your life story.
No.
It doesn't have to account for every little thing you've ever done in every job you've ever had.
No. However, that said, I always suggest that people come up with a resume to rule all resumes.
Right.
So you have your main resume that does include literally every single job you've ever had, and then you can tailor your resume to the role that you're applying for.
Right.
And that way it's in one place and you never have to rack your brains ever again.
Right.
What did I do 10 years ago in the role at blah blah blah.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, it's kind of like having a pantry, right? And then
yes,
you
exactly.
go and you get your ingredients and you make the recipe as it fits whatever you're applying for, right?
Yes, exactly.
I always love kitchen and cooking metaphors.
Metaphors. No, I think that's exactly pantry, right? So for this role, I need some leadership. So, where did I exercise my leadership, right? And pull that and emphasize that. And yeah, I want people to, well, so the other thing I always say is it's death, taxes, and resume writing. Everybody hates all of those three things.
And cover letters.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started on cover letters. I have polled every single HR person I've ever met and asked them if they read cover letters. And to a one, they have all said, no, they don't read cover letters. So unless a job posting specifically asks for a cover letter, don't waste your time.
Right. But if it does ask for a cover letter,
yes.
Write a cover letter.
Well, write a cover letter, and for God's sake, please find a way to make your cover letter stand out from all of the
right.
The cover letters, right? We've all seen them, written them, submitted them.
Right.
Very bland cover letters that are basically regurgitating the main points of the job posting. So make yourself stand out somewhere along the line there too.
Yeah. Great advice. So I want to make sure people know, though, the whole complement of what you're doing these days, because you're doing much more than working with people on their resumes and sometimes cover letters. And the work you're doing is both with individuals, in organizations, with teams. I mean, this is where things like Lego Serious Play comes in. So tell us a little bit more about kind of your sweet spot, what the kinds of clients you're working with, the kinds of the range of kinds of things that you do as a coach. Because I think that sometimes people who are listening don't even know the range of things that coaches do.
Yeah, I mean, literally, there's a coach for absolutely everything. I'm amazed when I see what some people's coaching niche is.
Yeah.
Really, that's a thing.
Right.
Who knew? Yeah, I think some of my favorite clients Well, I love the career transition clients who are really like they will talk to anybody. So I always suggest to people, you don't have to make every mistake known to mankind yourself. Go talk to people who are doing work that you think you might be interested in, companies that you might be interested in, that there's just something there that's pulling you. I say go talk to some people, 5-10 minutes on the phone with people, and just get more data so that you're in a better position to make decisions about the kind of work that you're going to be looking for. The I seem to have ended up with quite a few women in their 30s who are new to being managers. So
Mm,
that's another one of my sweet spots. People that are new to, they've been individual contributors, they've done really, really well in their career so far, and then they are promoted to becoming managers, and suddenly they have a team and they've never managed people before. And so again, you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There are all kinds of resources out there to help you, and I just love helping people figure out how to manage, because I think that's that segment of the workforce that really, they tend to be left alone. It's like, okay, you've been promoted, good luck, enjoy,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you're on your own to
Yeah.
figure all of this
As
out.
if you're supposed to know what to do
Well, yeah,
as a
and
manager.
right,
Right.
and I would say maybe 5 to 10% of the population are natural managers, and
Right.
everybody else, you have to, they're skills you have to learn. So, I love working with those people because they're excited to be doing this work, and they're like sponges. They wanna learn everything they possibly can. So whatever resources I lob their way, they're
Yeah.
thrilled.
Yeah.
And then the Lego Serious Play, right? I don't think I've seen a job posting in the last 5 years that hasn't, said, there's a team component. You have to be able to collaborate,
Right.
collaborate across departments, so that the team building, if you have to be part of a team, you wanna be part of a team that you really enjoy.
Right.
So the Lego Series Play fits in really, really well there.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I mean, with Lego Serious Play, you actually go in and work with teams with actual Lego pieces.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's really, really fun, and it's really, what's the right word? It really allows people go really deep, and really, really learn things about themselves and about other people, and it's really hard to explain. I talk about the magic of Lego Serious Play, and I had somebody come up to me after a workshop and just say, when you were talking earlier about the magic of Lego Serious Play, I was like, "Fuck, yeah, whatever." And then she said, "But now I see. Now I
Yeah.
get it." It really, it's an experience, so it's like coaching, so it's difficult to explain it,
Yeah.
but people really, really open up,
Yes.
and it's amazing. I overheard a woman talking to a colleague from a different department. She said, when we go back to work tomorrow, I'm never going to see you the same way."
Oh, I love hearing that.
Right? Like, how magical is that? And they were fooling around with Lego. I mean,
I love
there's
it.
a process, right? And there's a
Yeah.
process, and it's a facilitation tool, so it can be used in many, many different ways.
Yeah.
Um, a- and it really is quite magical. You can
Yeah.
see people's thoughts. I mean,
Yeah.
where else do you get the opportunity to do that?
Right. Well, and to have that facilitated in a way that builds that kind of understanding between people that may not have occurred under any other circumstance. And people need that now. And I
Oh,
know that some people are even doing Lego Series Play remotely with teams.
yes, I tried it. I tried it last year. I mean, nothing beats in person.
Right.
Um, and if you have to be on 15 Zoom calls a day, why not include some Lego?
Right. There you
Right?
go.
Right. Right.
Well, Darcy, this has been so much fun. And I love, I love the example that you set in terms of, and the generosity, and the candor with which you share your your journey with us, because the way that you make the case for um, following your gut, because so many people, I think, don't listen to that. And so I hope they will take a page out of your book and really listen to their guts as they go forward.
Yeah, just I would say baby steps, right?
Yeah,
What I've done a couple of times in my career, I would never recommend anybody else just do it, right?
right.
It's something that you want to play with,
Mhm.
with lower I don't want to say lower priorities, but with things that have less significance. I've been very lucky to have had the opportunities that I've had. Not
Mhm.
everybody's in the same position,
Right,
financially,
right.
all of those things. But I think, baby steps with your intuition will always serve people well. Always,
Absolutely.
always. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Everybody's situation is different, but I think that the whole notion of listening to your gut, it's going to put you in a direction that generally is going to serve you well. It's
Yes.
not about being thoughtless about the other aspects of your life, as you said. And clearly you had a safety net for yourself as
Yeah.
you went and did these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't without thought. And I think that's the difference, is following your gut doesn't mean that you're still not thinking on the ground.
Yeah, it's really combining everything, right? Like
Yeah.
your brain, your heart, your gut, like they need to be in alignment.
Yeah.
The where we go off the rails and where I went off the rails for 20 years, 20 odd years was, my brain said one thing, my heart said one thing, and my gut was saying something else. And so,
Yeah.
you pay a price for that. Now, in my like, thank God I'm now in a place where I can use all of that experience that I got, and
Hmm.
I'm using it to help other people. So
Right.
I'm extremely blessed. I mean, I wish it could have happened sooner, but everything happens when it happens.
Right. And you have all those other years of experience that you've brought with you to this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
maybe you made a little extra lemonade out of some lemons.
Yes. That sounds like a good plan.
Well, and on that sweet or tart note, Darcy, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. This has been such a fruitful conversation, and I really love hearing your story.
Well, thank you. It's been fun.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Darcy Roberts. It was so much fun to speak with her to learn about her personal and professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our conversation? If you are interested in any of the resources or links mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at www.tammygoolerloeb.com. Just look for episode 124. Are you anticipating your next professional move? Or perhaps you're feeling just a little stuck? Get specialized group and individualized support, insights, and accountability from a brilliant mix of professional women in a safe, non-judgmental creative space. Join one of my small hybrid mastermind coaching groups. Starting on a rolling basis, you can learn more at https://bit.ly/navigating career change. If you were inspired by this episode with Darcy, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at www.tammygoolerloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, It's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.